Hi, I'm Jeffrey Rutherford, developer of Adaptor Logic, a product of Interact Computer Services Limited. Adaptor Logic is a data integration and web services platform. It's designed to easily create and manage workflows for data acquisition, processing, storage, and distribution. It's normally provided as a SaaS, software as a service solution, with a fixed annual fee, which includes hosting, support, consultancy, and workflow development. We can also blend Adaptor Logic into your wider solution using it as an integration hub. In this vlog, I'll be introducing a new charting facility for time series data. This has been further developed to provide for general purpose charting and will be integrated into the data mining facilities of Adaptor Logic. For more information, contact myself via LinkedIn or via the messaging facility at adaptorlogic.com or opendata.onl. Let's sign in. With the data mining interface of Adaptor Logic, we can quickly get to the data of interest. For instance, if we have the databases with Cepher data, then we can choose our database, choose the date range that we want to see the data for, and then data mine within that data set. So it's very easy to quickly get to the data you want. Unfortunately, all you're seeing are the values for the data, and this isn't always useful. Sometimes it's better to be able to visualize the data in the form of a chart. With the data charts, we can go directly within the GUI to the data chart app, or if we require more real estate, we can simply go directly to the app. The app itself provides a simple interface with a title bar and a main area. We can choose our chart type, we can choose our data set of interest, and we can choose the date range for which to plot the data. We can also, if we want comparative charting, select a start date, a period of data, and an interval between. We'll come to that later. Let's choose vivacity data. Each data set has keys, and sometimes not all keys will have data available, but we can easily remove the keys for which no data is available within the time frame by using the restriction button. We then have a list of the keys which have been taken away because there's no data for those keys. Now we can confidently select some data. So for instance, A459, and we're interested in cars over this period, and we can get our graph. Within the graphs, you can zoom and pan and look at the individual data. If we add more, such as Aldridge Road as well, and separate that and show that graph, then we have Aldridge Road car, A459 road car, and if we click the title, we get the individual chart for the data of interest. Although we see the value chart, we may want to know what the contribution of the various aspects of the chart are. If we separate out and then say, look, I want to see what the contribution of each of those identities are to my chart, then I just click the key title and it shows me the number of times a record with that key with a value was available within the time period. If we want to see it for all the available entries, then we can right click, and normally this sort of operation can take a little while, and if we have a slow operation, we'll get a pop-up box which allows us to see how long it's going to take, and we can also cancel if required. Here we see the various contributions at this data set. Most contributions are fairly regular because of the nature of the detectors. Let's see the contributions of the classes, and we see that vans and cars. So let's add van. Yes, we can get the data chart of each identity against each class, but normally we may want to combine, and again we can combine to get it down to one data set. Now if you want to produce a group, then that is also possible. For instance, we want a car van group so that we don't have to choose the individual elements. We can say, look, create a group and call that car van, return, and that has now been recorded as a new group against our user. So each time we log in, that group will be available, and then we get the same chart, but now we're using our group car van. We can also remove the groups we've created simply by deleting them. With regard to contributions, when we did the restriction of keys, a side effect of that was that the titles also received a counts figure, and again that's the contribution in terms of the number of occurrences of a record with this key in the data set within the time period. So you can quite easily see how many records were available within the data set. Let's choose the CAS data set. Restrict and select the Broad Street cameras. Note that we can actually multiple select simply by holding the mouse key down as we drag over the entries. All, show the graph, show the contribution, separate them out. Hang on a second, CAS 29, that didn't look quite right, seemed to have something missing. So let's widen the range, do that again, have a look at CAS 29, and we can see that the actual camera must have been out of order for certain periods. Very obvious when you can see the patterns in the data. Let's do a side-by-side comparison over a date range. We need to have combination data for this, yin and yang. Set a base date, for instance Thursday the 1st of January. Then we want a day's worth of data per month for 4 periods. Let's get the data, and now we see the comparison. So we've got data from the 1st, the 7th, the 4th and the 2nd. The reason that the actual date changes is that it maintains the actual day of the week, so in this case Thursday. If we actually wanted to have it not based on the day of the week, then we simply uncheck and recall the graph, and now we've got them on the 1st of February, 1st of March, April, May, and you can see the comparative differences. Some data sets such as CAS have multiple values for which one can get a graph, such as the overall count, which we've been seeing, and the individuals such as M1 for cars. If you want to actually tweak the values and make groups of values and so forth, then one can do that by treating them as a key, and I've already set up some groups here. So for instance, M class, and move the to a slightly lesser date range. See the graph of M class as opposed to N class, and as I said, we can make our own groups. My group, and indeed we can get the contribution counts, which can be very useful to understand how the actual values in the graphs are composed. Let's go through the various facilities. As mentioned before, we can choose different charts. Stack chart in this case looks the same as column, line chart, etc. It may be that you want a different chart or a particular chart but with a different configuration. These charts are Google charts, and you can look at the Google Chart API documentation, and that gives you all of the information to configure charts as you want them. But how do we make use of that knowledge? This button allows us to modify the chart. So we modify the current chart, which is a column chart, and we can make changes. We can change the name if we want to give it a different name. Test it, set it. Now we have a different configuration for the column chart. And we could have actually created any of the chart variants supported by Google Charts with any configuration we wish, and given it our own name. And again, these configurations are recorded against your user account and are available every time you return to the charting app. And we can see the change we made here was simply to change the background color. If we have created a new chart configuration, we can remove it using the button which appears next to the chart name. We can also acquire the graph dataset. If we go back to the value graph, then we can use the copy button to copy the data either as a JSON JavaScript array, CSV data, or the underlying Google Graph data. So let's do that. And if I paste it, we have the JSON data. By right clicking, I will get the edit, select all. I will get the underlying Google data, and by clicking the alternative box and asking for the data again, we have the data in CSV format. If screen estate is at a premium, then we can reduce the key fields, the choice fields, and have the whole screen for the data graph. You may have been wondering what the map behind the graph is. Well, sometimes tooltip titles are informative, sometimes they're not. Sometimes the entry names are informative, sometimes they're not. And a lot of the keys have a location, i.e. they're physical cameras on the street and so forth. And to help us understand where they may be and therefore give us an inkling as to which ones might be of interest, we can use the map. If I select tooltips as maps, then if the actual entry has a latitude and longitude, it will actually produce a customized map tile centered on the location of the actual camera in this case. We can also get a map location with the normal title by using pan to location. Here we see the location, the map centered on the location of the key as we move over the keys, which gives us a good idea of where the camera is situated. And if we're not interested in maps, we can remove the map background altogether. This makes it very easy to quickly find out where various assets are. To summarize, we have an easy to use charting app which can be configured by the user to suit their requirement. Working off the time series databases, data retrieval is quick, and even if an operation is slow, a dialog is displayed of time to go and the option to abort the operation, as can be seen here. And if we want to abort that operation, just click data fetch aborted and let it go off in the background and take however long it's going to take. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this facility or any other facility of Adaptor Logic, then as I said in the introduction, please contact me. I'm also interested in collaboration and joint ventures. Thank you very much.